Without firing a shot, US and UK just effectively ended Russia's war. Wars are usually remembered through images of destruction, cities burning, tanks rolling through shattered streets, and soldiers fighting for every inch of ground. These are the scenes history records and the world recognizes. Yet some wars are not ended by explosions or surrender ceremonies. Some are brought to a halt quietly through pressure applied far from the battlefield. In the case of Russia's war, something extraordinary has taken place. Without launching missiles, without deploying armies, and without firing a single shot, the United States and the United Kingdom have reshaped the conflict so profoundly that Russia's ability to continue the war as it intended has been fundamentally altered. This was not a victory achieved through force, but through strategy, patience, and control over the systems that modern warfare depends upon. It represents a shift in how influence is exercised in a world where open confrontation carries enormous risk. Russia's expectation of endurance. From the very beginning, Russia believed that time would be its greatest ally. Its leadership assumed that Western nations would eventually grow tired of the conflict, that economic strain would weaken political unity, and that public support for Ukraine would fade. Russia's strategy was not built around a swift victory, it was built around endurance. The belief was simple and deeply rooted in historical experience. Russia could suffer longer than its opponents could remain committed. Initially, this belief appeared justified. Russia had survived sanctions before. Its economy did not collapse overnight. Energy exports continued to generate revenue, and alternative trade routes were explored. On the battlefield, despite losses and setbacks, Russian forces continued to fight. From Moscow's perspective, patience was not a weakness. It was a weapon. But this calculation relied on the assumption that suffering alone could translate into success. What Russia failed to recognize was that modern power is no longer defined solely by resilience. It is defined by access to networks, markets, technology, and legitimacy. Without these, endurance becomes stagnation rather than strength. The Western strategy: attack the system, not the soldier. A direct military confrontation between Russia and the West was never a realistic option. Any clash between nuclear-armed powers carried unacceptable risks. Instead, the United States and the United Kingdom pursued a strategy that avoided escalation while delivering long-term impact. They targeted the systems that enable a modern state to wage war. Modern armies rely on far more than manpower and weapons. They depend on advanced technology, stable finances, industrial production, and global supply chains. By restricting Russia's access to these systems, the US and UK aimed not for immediate collapse, but for gradual exhaustion. This approach allowed pressure to build quietly, even as the conflict continued on the surface. Sanctions were structured carefully. They focused on limiting access to precision components, advanced manufacturing equipment, and financial flexibility. Over time, the cumulative effect became unavoidable. Each damaged tank, each destroyed vehicle, and each lost system represented a cost that Russia could not easily replace. Technology as the invisible frontline. In modern warfare, technology is an invisible frontline. Advanced weapon systems require microchips, sensors, software, and specialized maintenance that cannot be easily replicated domestically. By cutting Russia off from these global networks, the US and UK ensured that battlefield losses carried lasting consequences beyond the immediate moment. The impact unfolded slowly. Repairs took longer. New equipment arrived in smaller quantities. Modernization programs stalled. Russia could continue fighting, but it could no longer adapt quickly to changing conditions. Meanwhile, Ukraine benefited from intelligence sharing, real-time surveillance, and operational guidance that allowed it to act with precision rather than mass. This growing imbalance meant that even when territorial lines shifted, strategic momentum did not. The war increasingly favored the side that could think faster rather than strike harder. Financial pressure and the cost of continuation. Wars are expensive long before the first shot is fired, and they grow more costly with every passing day. Financial restrictions limited Russia's ability to move money freely, access reserves, and stabilize long-term war funding. While the Russian economy proved resilient enough to survive, it became increasingly constrained. Every additional month of fighting required painful trade-offs: Civilian services faced pressure. Regional budgets tightened. Domestic investment is slowed. Over time, the war began to compete directly with internal stability. The cost was no longer measured only in military terms, but in social and political strain. The US and UK understood a fundamental truth of warfare. Wars do not end only when armies are defeated. They end when continuing them becomes politically and economically unsustainable. Alliance unity as a weapon. One of Russia's core assumptions was that Western unity would fracture under pressure. Energy shortages, inflation, and political disagreement were expected to weaken resolve. The United States and the United Kingdom recognized this risk early and worked tirelessly to counter it. Through coordinated diplomacy, shared planning, and consistent messaging, Western support for Ukraine remained steady. This unity denied Russia the diplomatic breakthroughs it had anticipated. Instead of weakening, opposition solidified. Even states that avoided direct confrontation grew more cautious in their engagement with Moscow. This unity transformed time into a weapon against Russia. Each month without collapse reinforced the perception that the West was prepared for the long term. The role of intelligence and strategic guidance. Western involvement extended beyond economic pressure and military aid. Intelligence sharing allowed Ukraine to anticipate movements, protect critical infrastructure, and disrupt operations before they unfolded. This reduced waste and increased efficiency across the battlefield. Crucially, this support was calibrated. It denied Russia decisive victory while avoiding direct escalation. There was no dramatic moment to counter, only a steady realization that options were disappearing. The shift from offense to limitation. As time passed, Russia's objectives narrowed. Language shifted, confidence softened. Expansion gave way to justification. The war did not end suddenly, but its direction changed permanently. This is how many modern wars conclude, not with declarations, but with exhaustion. When escalation becomes too dangerous and continuation too costly, a war loses its strategic purpose. Why this moment matters globally. What the United States and the United Kingdom demonstrated extends far beyond this conflict. They showed that modern power lies in control over systems, alliances, and perception. They proved that restraint, combined with patience, can reshape outcomes without firing a shot. This lesson will influence global strategy for decades. The silent conclusion. Without firing a single shot, the United States and the United Kingdom reshaped the course of Russia's war. They turned time into an enemy, narrowed options without escalation, and demonstrated that modern conflict is defined as much by control as by combat. If you found this documentary insightful and want more deep, analytical stories like this, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Your support helps bring more high-quality documentary content to life.